It's so nice and breezy. I hope that that does not mess up this recording. Yeah. So, hi everyone. Good morning, afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. Um, Watching this. There's a bug in my tea. Great extra protein. Um, I just love being outside. And I was having issues earlier trying to record. It's like the neighbor's kid was busting down the sidewalk in his scooter, and every like demarcation of the sidewalk or whatever you want to call it, border, his scooter just was like banging against it. There was that. Um, anyway, there was the trash collector. That wasn't too bad. And then my deck umbrella just blew off and slammed into my dog. So it's really hard to enjoy the outsides here when you're up at a high altitude. It's like you can't breathe, or it's too windy, or there's hail, or and right now it's not too hot, so that's nice. So I'm just under like a tree here. But I just wanted to say hi. My name is Jay. I talk a lot, and welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in and joining. I don't know if you're on your lunch break, or you're driving to Pilates, or you're cleaning your house and you just need some background noise, but I appreciate you so much for tuning in. Um, so, why am I here? Not just because I like to hear myself speak on topics that interest me, but I also love telling. I love storytelling, and I love sharing information and educating people on matters that I think should be important to them, if not already. And so I think you can kind of guess where I'm going with what I think is important. But um, I just have a vision for maternal health in this country that I hope I can really see it come to fruition intentionally, intelligently, based off of evidence and research, like years of collecting data, and not some bullshit that some random person made up because they researched 100 people and it wasn't a properly conducted experiment or research. So, um, or people just making up shit, or people just relying on one research that said X, Y, and Z. There's thousands of research. And I think the big one that I think of when I think of poor research is correlation does not mean causation. And that probably went over people's heads, but just because something increases with the, I don't know, increase of something else doesn't mean that that thing caused it. So just because 100 people were diagnosed with ADHD, let's say, and those 100 people all lived in a specific town in, I don't know, Queens, New York, because I'm from Queens. Um, you you would argue that people who were born and grew up in Queens will definitely be diagnosed with ADHD. That's what that means. So when people present research to you, and there's specific research that I have in mind, but I'm not on that level yet to call that bullshit out right now. But just like question, look at those numbers, and if you're not able to understand what I'm talking about, like hit me up. I'll set up time and explain different research findings to you. I'm not going to try and convince you to believe whatever. I'm just going to tell you that, either the research that you've brought to light is bullshit, or it's a legitimate research. So, anyway, I'm starting this channel because I believe that maternal health in this country and around the world, but mostly this country because that's where I live, and that's where I've experienced it as a mother and as a doula. I believe that it deserves so much more, and that it's not holistic enough. Now, I think some people, when they hear holistic, they have in their brain like natural and crunchy. And that's not the definition of holistic. The definition of holistic is that it's an approach that emphasizes the whole system. So it's basically saying that um, something like, for example, if I think of holistic care of someone, I'm thinking about your pelvic floor and who specializes in that. I'm thinking about breastfeeding, who specializes in that. Your OB is thinking about this as well. So it's all interconnected. And I think the easiest example I can think of is there's a lot of like health collectives. I love the collective. I feel like a collective, I mean, when I hear that term, I sometimes cringe, but I feel I feel like a collective is a great example because it's just a bunch of people who are in the business of providing a whole system um, care or support or advice to an individual. So like you don't have to go and find different providers on your own. It's all right there. And typically it's all like located in the same facility, right? So you don't have to go far. They're all interconnected with each other. They know that you went to see a pelvic floor therapist and it says that you have diastasis recti, and like all your doctors are in tune with what's going on with your whole system. So basically like a holistic maternal health approach would be that it's operating on the whole or the mother or the birthing person, and it's greater than the sum of its parts. So it's not one doctor that's like, all right, 6 weeks postpartum, clear to work out. No, it's 6 weeks, your uterus is healed. Let's get you over to physical therapy. And then you go to physical therapy, and they're like, you don't have any signs of DR, maybe you want to start some gentle postnatal movement. I'm going to send you down the hall to the postnatal fitness practitioner. I hope that this example is making sense because that's like the best way that I could think about it. And then you get to the postnatal practitioner and you're telling them that you haven't eaten all day, and they're like, let me get you in touch with the nutritionist and someone who meal preps. And they meal prep and they come to your house and they show you. It's like that is like mothering people, that is like taking care of people, and that is leadership. Taking care of people is leadership. And when you're in the birth space, if you don't think you're a leader, you need to check yourself. You most definitely are. So, and I'm biased, I was a military officer, so um anyway, maternal health is my mission. I think at first it was like be a doula and support people individually, and I'm still going to do that. Sometimes I think I just kind of like rage rant. I'm still going to take clients and support them as holistically as possible. But I think my mission is like much larger in addressing the maternal health system that we have here. I actually believe that communications is, or poor communications is having a bigger impact on communications and education, but mostly communications is having a bigger impact on maternal health. I think if we can have stronger communicators, and that includes the medical staff, the medical team, doulas, clients, everybody, patients. I think that once we figure out how people communicate best and we can enhance communication, I think it's really going to improve um, how people receive information, where they go to get information. Um, is it comprehensive? Are they seeking childbirth education courses or newborn care classes? The more that we can communicate what is available to people and communicate to them, like, this is how you communicate for yourself when you're giving birth, I think the stronger advocates we're going to have. I live right under the flight path, so. Oh, it's a little guy. Jet. I mean, a little jet. It looks like a Cessna. Um, Squirrel. Sorry, I'm an amateur plane spotter. Um, so just a little bit about me. I am actually a communications strategic communicator and public relations professional by trade, and I became a doula officially 2.5 years ago. I've been supporting births for 2.5 years, postpartum much longer, um, with family and friends. And I was like, oh, I'm doulaing. So um, it's just an interesting blend of two things that I'm very passionate about. And that's what this channel is going to be about. It's like, how can we improve maternal health through better communications, closing that gap? Some of the topics that you can expect me to cover over the next I say over the next year, is I would love to address any current events that are happening in maternal health, any changes in policy, laws that are going to affect people, the doula scope of work, right? So what does a doula do, what a doula don't do, and all the other like people in the birth working community, like a night nanny, a newborn care specialist. Um, because I think those get muddled and mushed together, and like they're very different, very different. And so I want to address that. I want to talk about advocacy, um, advocacy versus decision making, right? Like I hear a lot of people tell me, I want you to advocate for me. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean to you? And they kind of screw up their face and they're like, well, tell the doctor I don't want X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, you want me to make decisions for you? Because that's not going to happen. Also, the type of doula that I am is like, I empower my clients to advocate for themselves. I'm like, do you want to prep to go into the boxing ring or do you want me to fight for you? That doesn't work for everyone. I understand that, but that's the kind of doula that I am. So I can step in when like your partner needs a break or something like that, or like if you need help to guide you in the decision making process. But I am not making decisions for you, and I am going to encourage you to advocate for yourself all day, every day. Um, what else? I'm going to talk about why the struggles in maternal health right now are a leadership issue. I might do a video on like good questions for parents, expecting parents to ask their providers to ask their doula. I'll talk about and then finally, I really want to cap it off by talking about like my really deep diving into my vision for maternal health. So I don't think that maternal health is a luxury. I think everyone deserves it. The basics, and the basics to me are education from fertility to postpartum, right? So like you're educated on these pillars and that you are constantly bombarded with communications regarding um, maternal health, the changes, the updates, and that it aligns with like where you are in your life. So, like me, I'm basically midlife, and like where can I go to start getting perimenopausal and menopausal resources? I don't know, and I'm a doula, so if that tells you anything, yeah. So that's kind of like my approach. Um, if you believe that maternal health needs a revamp, I really implore you to like come back to this channel, come back and watch videos. Yeah, come back and watch videos and just like share questions or concerns, anything with regards to like birth work. Maybe you are considering leaving work and becoming a birth worker. You can hit me up. I have taken the next 3 months off to focus on myself because birth work is very emotionally draining. And if anyone tells you otherwise, I'm not sure what kind of birth worker they are. But it's really hard. And I am very big on, I want to be able to give people 110% of me when I am supporting them. Even though being a doula in this country is not even a livable wage. Um, I want people to have like 100%, 100 plus 10, whatever, the math. Oh, they need to get the best of me. And for me, I just need to take a break. I've 24 births in 2.5 years. And it's not all spread out. There was literally 3 that were back to back to back last September. 4, no, 5 that were back to back to back. There was at one point there was 3 back to back to back. There was one point where I had none. I still don't have any until October. Um, and that's a blend of like insurance and private pay, but it's mostly insurance. So I'll talk a little bit. I'll address that as well. All those different aspects. But thank you so much for tuning in, and please come back, share in the comments, and let me know if you have any thoughts on maternal health, if you don't really care, if you feel like it doesn't apply to you. It impacts all of us. It impacts all of us. The more that we can really take care, preventatively help prepare people for birth, the less likely that resources are going to be drained to things like C-section. A C-section costs like $80,000. If we can educate people, like, hey, there are other routes to take, or there are other resources, or hey, advocate for yourself. Like, you may not need a C-section. You might just need 2 more days of good early labor. The more that we can educate and equip people, the more that they can advocate for themselves, understand what they're advocating for, and just don't fall, victim to like medical coercion and the medical industrial complex. And that means more money to go other places. So thanks for tuning in. Catch you in the next episode. Bye.